I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. I'm joined by my two personal favorite recurring guests on this podcast. We'll start with Sean Murphy, first from Half Court Credential NBA Media member. How's it going, man?
What's going on, guys? It's good to be back with the boys. Eric, I haven't gotten to see you very much since the draft and, since Game 7. So it's great to see your face as well, and excited to talk some basketball and, hopefully compared to the rest of Pistons Twitter, have a pretty chill little time together. Let's all just take a collective deep breath. Let's remember that basketball will eventually come back.
Yes.
And we don't have to go at each other's throats every single time something is tweeted. Anyway.
We are all friends. We all love each other over here.
35 seconds. That's a new record. So he's right. To his right, Eric Vincent, ClutchPoints.com beat reporter. I have not seen both of you guys probably since, I want to say, April, last home game of the regular season. So
yeah,
I do have you guys both on the podcast throughout the year, but I don't think we've done a group podcast since last summer.
Yeah. It's been a hot minute, man. I got to give y'all some credit, too. Again, I brought it up before. Both of y'all coming in with the scruff, the new off-season beard coming through like it's still playoff mode. I like this. Coming through with the grit right now. Come on, y'all. I like it.
Don't patronize me, Eric. I know I look like I'm 12 compared to you both. Don't patronize me.
Just keep brushing, man. You got it. Just keep brushing it in.
Maybe we can get some super chats to get Sean some beard oil till next
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, now I see why Pistons fans are getting so angry.
Before we kind of just jump into the topics, I just want to ask you guys what you've been up to this summer, going down any rabbit holes like myself. How you been staying busy?
Yeah, honestly, just been enjoying the time off of late. Obviously, it's been a great movie summer. So, Spider-Man came out over the weekend, saw that, yesterday, had a great time. The Odyssey was freaking incredible. Got to see that. My nephew turned 1 a week ago, so got to go celebrate that. And otherwise, just, kind of taking the opportunity to unplug. This was, from beginning to end, the longest season I've had thus far, and definitely the most I've covered by far. So, normally, I can carry that energy pretty deep into the off season, but like the second the free agency transaction wave ended, it was hard for me to have a whole lot of energy about, what was going on, because I was just like a candle that was burnt on both ends. So, but you know what? Glad to be back here and glad to, start getting things ramped up again. And, just like an elf getting ready for next Christmas,
Life's been good, man. I'm enjoying this off season. I've been golfing a lot, trying to enjoy some time with the family. I'm enjoying the unplugging. It's not even worth talking about at all. I'm still terrible. I've been playing for 20 years. I don't even think I have a handicap. I'm still ass. But I'm enjoying the offseason, man. Yeah, the playoff was a long stretch. I did a lot of features. I did a lot of, work during that time. So I'm enjoying, kind of taking, the moment to, kick my feet up a little bit. Watching being more frustrated with WWE than the NBA right now. I'm just locked in with that. Get my coverage into that on social media.
Electric Boogaloo?
Oh my God, bro! If we get another celebrity come up to ruin a PLE, I'm gonna lose my damn mind. But I'm enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying everything that's coming with this break and just the mental prep for what's coming up for next season too, because it's gonna be another fun one next year.
Well, I won't ask you why Derek White is the Roman Reigns of WWE, but we can kind of sleep there.
Hey, I had a good time being here with y'all. Y'all have a good one. I'm out. See you later.
Hey, Derek White is the Roman Reigns of the WWE. Derek White is Roman Reigns?
We're not even 5 minutes in. We are 4:48 in this mug, and you already said the red flag. No,
Eric's like 2 minutes ago. He's like, yeah, let's all be friends. Now he's like, I am out of here. I am angry.
Yeah, I'm going heel now. I get the anger now. I want it. I want all the smoke now. Come on.
Yeah, half a Pistons Twitter every damn week, man. Good
Bruh.
lord.
Maybe that would be a good segment at some point. We debate which NBA players or which WWE superstars now and of the past.
Okay.
That might be a good segment at some point. Not today, because I think that's something we have to prep for, and we have to
that's gonna take weeks.
Yeah, it would.
Next time we pod together, let us reconvene and have this debate.
We could do like a celebrity death match between Pistons Twitter. Who we do want to take on?
Yeah. I'll just tell you right now, James Harden's the honky tonk man.
Go with that.
Oh man, that would actually be a pretty fun podcast, because I know there's a lot of wrestling fans in the Pistons Twitterverse, but we're here to talk about some Detroit Pistons, even though it took us 6 minutes to get there. So there was some news this week with ESPN. Shout out to Vinny Goodwill on NBA Today. He had talked about Cade Cunningham and how he was heavily in the recruitment phase, and some names that were linked to the Pistons: Austin Reaves, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving. Wanted to ask you guys, what did you think about the initial report, and were there any names that kind of piqued your interest?
To me, the thing that immediately stands out is when players do this type of recruitment, it stems in part from a self-assuredness that they can be the best player on a championship team. And I think Cade, recognizing the development and where, things ended even last year, and the high level play that we saw, even with the collapsed lung and the broken ribs, like to what extent that was, we still aren't even fully aware. But to still, for a lot of the playoffs be, other than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like the best player in the postseason at points. I know Brunson had the awesome finals and things like that, but like if we're being real, it was probably like SGA and then Cade as far as like the best, playmaking and scoring guards we saw this postseason. And so I think, in part, I think this is him just like saying, hey, I'm ready to stake my claim in the league. I think I can be, the best player on that type of team. And I also think, like, even though fans would look at, the fact that they didn't land any of those players that they quote unquote struck out, but the reality of it is, like with Austin Reaves, he was always going to be going back to the Lakers more than likely. That was where I think he was going to be able to get the most money, but also, that's just, that was his team. I think it's very hard to get someone out of the Lakers once they're integrated into that camp. I think some of it's definitely held back by the contract situation that is Jalen Duren, and I think that certainly complicates a lot of the recruiting efforts that are there too. But also, it's like a lot of these, a lot of these names, like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, like these are guys that can still, kind of just be, flames that you keep going. Like I think those are guys where, their availability certainly isn't, just like, finite or isn't, just like closed for the season. Like they can come back at a later date and, capitalize when the moment is right. So I think, I know for fans, it's like you always just keep saying, oh, well, they can always, it's like, oh, well, they can always strike on later. But the reality of it is, it's like you'd rather a team take the cautious approach than, like blow all of your picks, all of your, prospects, to go out and get a player that just isn't the right fit, because then that's going to truly close your window. And then you're going to have to start having some conversations that you really don't want to have.
Yeah, I like this a lot for the Pistons. Again, this was, to me, as I said a lot this offseason and then prior to, I think this is going to be the biggest offseason for Trajan's, tenure as a Pistons exec. And then using Cade Cunningham as a part of that process, I think would have been a huge, or was, because it did happen. It was a huge tool to show kind of where they are and where he is in his maturation. Obviously on the court, he's, a top 5, top 10 player at worst in the NBA, an MVP candidate. And a lot of these guys that we've seen through Cade's, time in the NBA, even prior to that, have shown a lot of respect and admiration of Cade's development and maturation as a player and off the floor as well. What really struck me and kind of intrigued me was the Kevin Durant connection. Not just because we know the history that they have. We know they go back, from, Cade's days in college and then prior to that as well. But looking at what Kevin Durant's last several years have been in the NBA, where he's hopping from team to team to team to team, and a big, question mark has been his maturity, his leadership, and how that impacts, the path of where these teams are going. Teams like Houston, teams like the Nets, teams like Phoenix, like those are teams that to me didn't have the strongest leadership. Even when you're looking at a player like Kevin Durant, that's never really been a strong suit of his game. And knowing that Cade Cunningham, to me, when he's here, everyone has acknowledged that he is the de facto leader and number one voice of this franchise. And to me, if Kevin Durant were to strike and be that, choice of the player to kind of move over for the Pistons, I think it would work for the best out of all the teams that Kevin Durant has been on because of the exact thing I was just talking about. There wasn't really a whole lot of great leadership with the Nets when he was there. It wasn't a whole lot of great leadership with the Suns when he was there. Even with Houston now. I like the talent that they have, but leadership I think is maybe the biggest question mark for them. Knowing that everybody respects and tunes into what Cade Cunningham has to say in that locker room, I think would have been the most suitable place for a player like Kevin Durant to be in, because knowing the respect that he has for Cade and knowing where Cade is in his career at this point, I think it would have been the best place for him to kind of listen and lock in and stay as focused as possible to keep that, camaraderie together. Because that's something huge that the Pistons press on outside of just talent and on-court production as well. So I liked seeing and hearing that. I like Cade being that active piece. Again, even though they didn't land any of those pieces, I respect the effort in using all resources available to try to make those pitches. And Cade Cunningham, again, being the player that he is at this point, he's going to be the biggest recruiting piece that you have and tool to persuade these kind of players, because he's going to be here for the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully. And, you're going to want to have him on par with everything that they're trying to do moving forward.
I will say the KD rumors to me are the loudest. Like every other day I log on, it's just like Pistons want to be at the front of the line if things just don't work in Houston. So there's also
Kevin Durant has kind of seemingly made it known that he would love to play with Cade if the opportunity presented itself.
That, and they're both Nike guys too, which it kind of does help. I wasn't going to bring up the picture, but I mean, we can
don't do it. No. God, sexy red and Drake. I cannot. No, y'all. That is the worst. Oh my God.
Okay, we won't mention him. He was standing next to Kevin Durant. Devin Booker was there as well. Obviously, it was in some sort of
they just all like owls and were wearing a sweatshirt that showed their appreciation of owls. That's it.
I know. I think Basketball Reference has to change his nickname to OVO Cade.
Oh no.
That was a big dividing piece. I tweeted that, and everyone half was like, "Oh my God, Cade is the man! Oh, he's with Drake." And then the rest is like, "Oh, Cade's cursed. The Pistons are done this season." And y'all know where I was at on that. Just anything that relates to sports and Drake, you're basically screwed for your year. So, Cade, get away from that man, please.
Just Eric at the end of the season. Trajan, how do you get rid of the Drake curse? Is Kendrick Lamar going to become on the payroll?
I'm making that pitch. I'm writing an article about it tomorrow. Get ready.
But to kind of circle back to the KD thing, they've obviously have spent some time together. I know even before he got drafted, that's been a really big mentor to Cade Cunningham as well. And we talk about secondary creator, a lot of us in the Pistons space, that is something they still don't currently have. And even KD at the age that he is, it's still a 20-point per game bucket getter that you could pair next to Cade Cunningham. Now, it depends. What does Houston want to do? How does Houston look this year? Apparently, they're in the Russell Westbrook sweepstakes.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to fare in the Western Conference.
Marcus Smart and Russell Westbrook on the court together in 2026 is just that sets offense back 40 years.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. But kind of just a secondary question I want to ask you both is do you think this shows more that the Pistons are ready to, I'll use the quote unquote make that big move with Cade being more involved with recruitment with the front office?
I think it's a sign of confidence in what they have in house, and to your point, it's I do think it's a recognition of it's time to take that next step. And I mean, they are ready with what were minimal moves. And to your point, the last time we potted together was last summer. This time last year, we were talking about an underwhelming offseason and whether or not that was going to hold back what the Pistons did this last season. We know obviously the answer there. So, like I think that when you have a player like Cade, and it's like now that he has answered those questions, he's given you 2 really good playoff runs, one being really deep and having a 3-1 deficit to come back from in the first round against Orlando. Like, I think if you're Trajan, it's like, I don't know what else you need to see to think that, like, hey, I think we might have the best player in the Eastern Conference. And if you have a guy that's one of, if not the best player in a conference, that means that you are in contention if you have the right roster to go to the finals just about every year as long as you're healthy. Like, that is what that means. And Cade is one of those guys who has the longevity, the runway. Like, he's still 25 years old or 24 years old. He's still an insanely young guy. So, like, if you do the right things around it, this is a guy that you can be in this position with for years to come. So it's like, I do think there is an urgency that's like, all right, we got to start going for it now.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Sean just said. I think at this point, you don't want to waste a whole lot of time with where Cade is at and the window of opportunity this team has. The Eastern Conference is getting better year after year. This was a very strong offseason for a lot of teams in the East. And again, if you want to try to make those moves to, maximize your opportunities, you have to use all the resources around you. And knowing where Cade has been as a young player, has gone through injuries, has gone through the losing phases with the Pistons. Now that you've tasted a little bit of success and you've been, groomed and, as the face of the franchise, there are different levels of responsibility that comes with it. And these are the kind of things that you see. LeBron has been a part of these kind of steps. Like a lot of superstars, this is something that they do in terms of how they're, able to help and aid the front office. So now that Cade has been, pitched with that opportunity and that responsibility, I mean, I just think it's just another, check mark on his resume. It shows how important he is. It shows how much the Pistons respect and want him a part of that building for the future. So yeah, I definitely agree. I think this is 100% a sign that they're trying to take advantage of a time where they believe they could be title bound sooner than later. Absolutely.
And to be frank, they owe it to JB Bickerstaff and his coaching staff as well. I mean, JB, He's been named the president of the Coaches Association. He's a part of the United States, basketball coaching staff, which is a sign that you are one of the best at what you do if you are a part of that coaching staff. It's also a pretty good indication of where Cade Cunningham is going to be in the summer of 2028. But on top of that, it's like you have, like, when you know that you have the player, and when you're pretty dang confident you've got the coach too, at what else do you need to go take that swing?
Right.
You've got it.
Yeah, I feel like they have way more than enough evaluation and evidence. Like, I remember when Trajan first came in, like, the word that he kept using in pressers and multiple pressers was evaluation. We're in evaluation process. You have 2 years of data. I think your first year you saw, if you surround him with shooters, it opens up the half court sets. In 2024 and 2025 with Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway, and then you make a swing for veteran point guard Dennis Schroeder. This past season, terrible spacing. But you had Duncan Robinson, and now you're kind of going back to more perimeter spacing with Isaiah Joe, John Collins, Taurean Prince. Who knows if Gary Harris is going to stay on the roster, but that's another 40% three-point shooter. So you have way more perimeter spacing than Cade has ever had in his career. But I still think when you look at the roster, you're still going to run into the same problems you have the past 2 playoff series, and that's teams are going to trap Cade. Who's going to be that secondary option now that Tobias Harris is gone? What happens?
You still haven't gotten that ball handler.
Yeah, you hope it's Ibuka, Corey. You hope it is, but that's
a lot to expect from the 17th overall pick in their rookie year.
Yeah,
it could be in the future, and who knows? We've seen a lot of young guys come in who are middle, late first round picks and have early success. And if there's a guy who could, Ibuka certainly fits the bill. He's super skilled, but also at the same time, Eric, were you at his introductory draft press conference?
No, I didn't get to go to that, unfortunately.
But were you at Summer League? Like, were you around him at all? Have you been in person with him at all?
No, I didn't get to be around him too much for Summer League in this offseason.
Okay. I am taller than Ibuka Okori.
Oh, that's terrifying.
That is terrifying. Like, I'm not saying that as an insult. Like, I am being matter of fact, okay? Like if we're talking about, like, I'm about 6'1".
Mm-hmm.
He's listed as 6'1".
Yeah, players be lying. Teams
Right.
be lying.
Well, I mean, could be on the tippy toes, but it's like,
Right.
It's just to say, like, the size is a question. We've seen great players come through and overcome it, but again, it's just something to acknowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ibuka could definitely be a backup point guard this upcoming season. I think between him and Danis, it's probably going to be a camp battle that I'll be paying attention to. But again, it's like, I think if he did play with real NBA players, you would see the value. Like, just the prime position he was able to get in the summer league, like getting those paint touches, I think will be really huge. But again, like in the playoffs, when the game slows way down and you're looking for someone to step up, obviously that wasn't Jalen Turner in the playoffs. He was very overwhelmed by that. Tobias Harris stepped up and he was your second option. He's in San Antonio now. Like, who is going to become that second option in a playoff setting? I mean, are these players even on the roster? Because we have a trading deadline in February that's upcoming in 2027. Like, do they stack some contracts to get up to a $40 million contract? Like, there's a lot of question marks right now, but it's good to hear that Cade is more involved in the recruitment of trying to get a secondary star next to him, though.
I also just know that I kind of just got retroactively insulted when Eric was like, "Oh, that's rough." When I was like taller than a book, I was like, it took me a second to catch on. I was like, wait a minute, huh?
I saw most girl like, is he as tall as they say? I don't read this. You answered a lot of questions I had. But your point is kind of, spot on with it, Anthony, because we kind of spoke about John Collins, off mic as well, because while they can be helpful, and I believe Ibuka could become that guy, how much responsibility you want to put on his plate this early is going to be the question mark. I think what they did was great. I like what they did this offseason. I think they did a good job of addressing some of those needs for Cade. Put shooters around him, space the floor as much as possible, and you'll see a rise in the production of Cade Cunningham. The fact that he was able to be top 2, top 3 in assists last season with the spacing that they had was unbelievable. And I think that helps a lot with what they did and who they were able to add, and keeping Duncan Robinson in the same time as well. But unfortunately, it does now raise a bit of that responsibility, because while shooting and adding that was a big need, there are still 2 big other needs that they have not been able to get, checked off thus far. Jalen Duren's extension, which we'll dive into in a little while, and then finding that secondary ball handler as well, which unfortunately has not come up to this point. So it kind of puts more responsibility on those players, like we just talked about. Even people call me a hater on as much as they do. I don't care. Like, even for a guy like Asar Thompson, like, people telling me all last season, if just the defense is enough, if all he plays defense is enough. No, when you're lacking as much as you are on offense, everybody's got to kind of pull their weight. And these are the kind of moments and reasons why, when you haven't been able to add that number 2 or number 3 guy. Again, I like John Collins a lot, but he's arguably the 3rd most important player on the roster right now for this team, at least offensively for sure. So I don't know. It just puts a lot more on their plate, and it's hopefully they'll have a plan of how they can address that, because they're going to need to sooner than later to get where they want to be.
I 100% agree. Before we do get into segment 2, you guys, I have to hear from our sponsors over at the FanDuel Sportsbook, and they have 50+ win regular season odds, and the Detroit Pistons are at a +105 with winning 50+ regular season wins. It does not really surprise me, even though the offseason has been really, really just underwhelming. They have the Pistons at the 50-win club. 50.5 wins is that actually their under-over total at FanDuel right now.
And I think, to be fair, even though I think the knee-jerk reaction is going to be fans feeling insulted, like how are we a 10-win worst team? When I think this isn't as much a commentary on the Pistons as much as this is a commentary on both the Eastern Conference, but also where the NBA is heading as a whole, which is you are going to see less teams tanking. You're going to see more teams trying. And this Eastern Conference, which has been the butt of jokes over the years, like, we are in a new age. The Eastern Conference is the deepest conference in the NBA right now.
I agree.
And so the Pistons, like, in part, when we talk about the urgency to make moves, part of that stems from the fact that you have Philadelphia all of a sudden becoming a a genuine force to reckon with. There's real questions about how that can turn out, but anytime you add LeBron James and Jaylen Brown to your team in an offseason, you have to pay attention to it. The Knicks are the defending champions for a reason. And even though Eric might not love to say it, they are still a threat. Like the Celtics, even though, they're probably going to take a step back. We thought the same thing last year, and they were still the number 2 seed in the conference. So it's like, there are truly no team you can even scoff at anymore. It's like even the Washington Wizards, who apparently, according to Kendrick Perkins, is the 5th best team in the East. But, it's like that is a team now that you can't scoff at anymore. So it's like if it's like, all right, who are the teams in the East that are like definitely bad next year? There's like only 2 or 3 that come to mind. Chicago, which even then with how Caleb Wilson looked, at Summer League, it's like that could at least be a fun bad. I'm probably Charlotte's going to be taking a step back, but again, Brooklyn. Who knows? They've made a lot of good decisions too. And then from there, it's like Brooklyn is really the only other team. From there, there's probably 10 teams that think they're a top 6 team right now.
Yeah, go ahead, Anthony.
No, I agree with everything Sean said, honestly.
Yeah, I was trying to put a lot more respect on the East last season. People were, crowning the West as, the stronger division conference in the NBA, and I'm fine with that. At the top, I believe that when you had OKC and when you had the Spurs, that was cool. After that, I think you could have made the argument where you lined up each team in the East versus what was going on in the West. I thought it was pretty, tight in terms of what the East was doing. I thought they were very underrated. And now when you have Kawhi coming over to the East, well, potentially, we're still not, still not over yet. Yeah.
As each day passes, I'm more convinced that might not happen.
I'm a little worried about that too. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
RIFC.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Braun coming over to the East. Philly kind of taking a step forward. A lot of teams taking a step forward. Indiana coming back healthy. It's a lot of teams to not sleep on. A lot of teams are hungry. They see the window of opportunity getting a little bit bigger. And I think the Pistons are one of those teams as well that kind of want to strike while they can, especially while you have a MVP caliber player that's kind of just entering his prime. So, again, they have a lot more moves to make. They got a lot of, things they need to decide on. But I think they're still right in line to be where they want to be in terms of that championship push.
And don't forget about the team that almost knocked us out, by the way. They went out and got Sean Sweeney this summer. And I think, that could like low key be one of the best moves this offseason. I think Sean Sweeney's a great coach, and they truly needed an X and O sicko. And I think that's exactly what they got. And so I'm not saying they're going to be right at the top of the conference, but they clearly put the Pistons on the brink already. So you got to, at the very least, respect them and take them very seriously.
Agreed.
I think Orlando's going to look completely different. I could see Paolo having a Giannis type of role where he's just bringing the ball up the court and they try to make him a point forward, knowing Sean Sweeney, how sick of an individual he is. Could definitely see him try to just pull that. Like they did it with Cooper Flagg in Dallas to try to get him the ball in his hands because he's a bigger forward. I totally see Franz Wagner and Paolo doing the same thing in Orlando. It's going to look completely different.
I'm just excited for my first Sean Sweeney press conference. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, but I mean, Pistons were 44.5 favorites last year, and they jump up to 50.5. So I mean, I'll take the 6 games in a calendar year. I didn't see too many sports books having us as a 55 win team, but I'll take the 50 wins. I still think they're a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. That's just my opinion, though.
At this point, the total of what their wins are in the regular season, it matters, but it's not the most important thing. Like last year, it was very important for them to kind of get over that threshold of, raising that total from the season prior. At this point now, it should still be a respectable number, relatively around 50. But obviously at this point with where they are, the postseason is going to be the biggest indicator of who they are and where they're going. So yeah, obviously you don't want to be teetering around, 30, 40 wins, competing as a play-in team or anything like that for sure. But, obviously their expectation has risen a lot at this point. So, yeah, they got a lot of things that need to kind of get solved for them to get to where they want to be.
I agree. The East is going to be a bloodbath. Every game is going to matter a little bit more. So segment 2 is actually Sean's favorite player. It's Zach LaVine. That's a joke if you guys are on this podcast.
My second favorite player, LaMelo Ball. If we were to make the Mount Rushmore, LaMelo Ball, Zach LaVine, Brandon Ingram, and maybe Miles Bridges on the end there.
That's a hell of a list, but
yeah. And if you can't tell, these are my least favorite players. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I could get that by just a list of the sarcasm just popping through my screen right now. But I know you pretty well. There was a report that Sacramento didn't promise Zach LaVine a role, and there has even been conversations about him getting a contract buyout. So I wanted to ask both of you. I know he's been in rumors before with the Detroit Pistons, dating back to his Chicago days. Should the Pistons be interested if Sacramento does indeed buy him out of his contract and it's a $50 million expiring?
Yeah, I think so. I 100% think so. I think for what they need, I don't think it will be enough for them to come in with the roster, or at least to finish the season with the roster that they have. I do think they still, like we've all agreed and talked about, they need that, that secondary creator. A guy like Zach LaVine, who's only 31 years old, he's not really that far outside of the Pistons, timeline and window. I think he fits for what they need. I think he's a guy that can play in transition. I think he's a guy that can create his own shot. I think he fits the mold of what they're looking for. Not the greatest defender, but offensively, I think he gives a lot of the production that we're hoping and looking for a lot of our other younger guys, like for guys like Asar, guys like Ron Holland. If they're not there right away, if they're still kind of, growing in terms of their shot selection, in terms of their, creation offensively, when you have a guy like Zach LaVine, it takes a little bit of that responsibility away from them. So now they can kind of take a little bit more of their time to hone in on what they're good at, which is defense, and then still take their time offensively. And it's not such an immediate rush when you have a guy like Zach LaVine on the roster. I think he would be perfect for it. I would love to hear Sean's reasoning for why I'm wrong, but no, I would love this move. I think I've been kind of back and forth on this over the past couple years because I feel like his name has been very intertwined with the Pistons over the past few seasons, even going back to the Monty Williams days. But at this point now, I think it makes more sense now than those past few years based on where they've been and based on where he is at this point in his career as well. I think he would get a lot of suitors too if this buyout does happen. I don't think he's just going to be just this guy that people are just shooing away and not even trying to get interested in. Again, this point in his career, being only 31 years old, he still has athleticism in his game. He still has the ability to create and be a 20-point-a-night guy. I think he would get a lot of suitors and a lot of attention. I think the Pistons should absolutely be in that discussion to see what they can do to get him.
Zach LaVine is one of the only guys I've seen score 50 in person. I remember a couple years ago in the 2023-2024 season,
I was
Pistons home opener.
Yeah.
LaVine scored 51 points, and there's nights when Zach LaVine has it going where he looks at points like one of the best scorers in the NBA. He's a guy who is confident with his jump shot, when he's feeling good with his legs. He has a burst in athleticism that's undeniable. And there are elements about his game, that are electrifying. Having said that, absolutely not. And the reason why is because, he's never been a part of winning. He's definitely not an additive on the defensive side of the ball. If he's like the last resort out there, like, I can see why you would bring him in. And I would certainly hate it a lot less than I would have a couple years ago. Like, I remember when the Pistons, in the year they won only 14 games, at the deadline, they almost pulled the trigger on a Zach LaVine trade. Mm-hmm. And that would have been really sucky because just taking on all that money for those years, like just having him at that contract would have been a lot to digest. Now, if you can get him for truly nothing and you can bring him in on like a veteran minimum deal, I would be stupid to not think that that's an intriguing possibility and something that you can look at. To your point, like if we go along this scenario that he is bought out, I absolutely can see that as a possibility. I just think that is a lot of money to pay someone to not play for your team. And I think something to keep in mind is, even though Scott Perry is the one that's running things in Sacramento, their owner in Sacramento is a big fan of Zach LaVine, loves watching him play, and wanted him there for a long time. So it's like, I just don't know if I buy the notion that he will be bought out. But if you can get him for a minimum, I'd be intrigued. I just wouldn't really go much further than that. I know it sounds disrespectful, but I mean, you've seen what he can do being the best player on a team in Sacramento these last couple of years. Not a whole lot.
That says more about the roster in Sacramento as a whole, I would say, but I understand your concerns. I think the concern with him is defensively, health. You know, you kind of look at all of his stops in the NBA, hasn't really impacted winning, hasn't had a whole lot of playoff experience. Like I get it, but I think if you're talking about if he gets bought out, which I have no idea why Sacramento would do that, because they just bought out DeMar. I don't know if they would buy out Zach too. I think he makes a whole lot of sense. He checks a lot of boxes. He checks the secondary creator box. He checks the scoring box. He checks the fit next to Cade box. But a lot of these older shooting guards, whether it's Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, DeMar DeRozan, Klay Thompson possibly, all of these guys I think are going to have a very robust market with a lot of contenders. Like Miami, I think is interested in every single one of those guys I just mentioned.
Right.
Detroit has 6 shooting guards on the active roster right now. I would assume they don't want to carry 6 shooting guards heading into the regular season. Shooting guard is probably their most stacked room position-wise, but I would be lying to you to saying, like, if we can get Zach LaVine on a vet minimum, or maybe it's a little bit more, I would be open to it because we need more bucket getters next to Cade Cunningham, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with the above a little bit more. I have a problem with the whole, doesn't contribute to winning thing. Like you said, it's more to me, it was more based on the environment that he was on, more so than his style of play. Now, yes, his injuries are a huge problem. He's a guy that's always been up and down in terms of what his health is and his availability. That's always going to be a problem, and I totally understand that argument. For me,
he was also probably 1 or 2 roles above the pecking order of where he should have been.
Exactly, I would agree.
In his greatest role, he probably is the 2nd or 3rd option at his peak on a winning team. Whereas he's been the number 1 guy pretty much throughout a lot of his career.
Right, which is what he would be here for the Detroit Pistons. And I think that's why he would make so much sense. Like, you're not ever going to get the quote-unquote perfect player. There's always guys that come with flaws. But if you have an environment and players around him, it's going to supplement for the areas that he lacks in. Like I was just talking about, he may not be the best defender. But when you have Asar Thompson, who to me is the best defender in basketball, you can kind of sit back a little bit and not, you won't be able to pick on Zach LaVine like we just saw Duncan Robinson get picked on in the playoffs. You won't have to worry about him getting picked on like Tobias was against the Cleveland Cavaliers during the playoffs. I think he'll be able to hold his own enough to where you'll at least be able to, spare a few possessions here or there, given his youth, given his athleticism. I think he'd fit just fine with what they need. Because again, he doesn't have to be the perfect player in every aspect. Everybody's not going to be a top of the line playmaker or top of the line defender. But if he fits the areas that you need of shooting and scoring, which he does, it basically has grown and gotten better year after year, of tenure since he's been in Minnesota. I think he's gotten better and better, each phase of his career. So even with where he's at right now, I think it will make all the sense in the world for the Pistons with where they're at.
My one concern I would present is it could be a little Karras-esque in the sense of sometimes when like Zach LaVine, like his usage rate's at about 27%, and on his career he's just shy of 4 assists a game. So like he's a little bit of a vacuum when it comes to like when you pass him the ball, don't expect to get it back. Expect him to go for a shot. And don't get me wrong, that's probably what you're bringing him here for, and that's totally fair. And in like there will be moments where he will create some great things out of that. So you'd have to live with some of the, the face palm moments. But I just do think like if he was to truly be at his best in Detroit, I think not only would he have to show that he's willing, to obviously be lower on that like pecking order, which like I think would come with being in Detroit, but also I think he'd have to show that he can be more of a willing passer. Not saying that he's not a good passer, but it's like, I just think that's just something you have to, at the very least, be conscious of.
I think his responsibility wouldn't be as much because I think if you have a conversation about bringing him in, you can just say, hey, Zach, we need you to score. Like, we're like a average team in half-court sets, which I think the Pistons ranked like 16th this year. Like, he can completely slow down a game in a half-court setting. Like, we just need you to focus on, taking some pressure off of Cade Cunningham. Obviously, look, the team that we have around Cade can really, swing the ball side to side. But like we have seen lulls this past season where you guys have been there. There's been like scoring runs where they cannot score scoreless runs where they can't score a basketball for like sometimes 3 to 4 minutes straight because teams just kind of trap them in half court settings and they don't let them run in transition. I think with Zach or any of the other shooting guards that I mentioned, to an extent, I think they can help you in half court sets. And again, like I'm not opposed to bringing in any of these guys. I know what they are defensively, and I'm okay with them being trash defensively. I'm more intrigued with the offensive side of the game to make Cade Cunningham's life easier at the end of the day. That's where I'm at with it.
Yep. I will never forget watching the Brooklyn Nets go 61-43 in the second half against Detroit, and the Pistons blowing that 20-plus point lead against one of the worst basketball teams I have ever seen play the game. And not only that, Eric, I don't know about you, I'll never forget the silence in the media room after that game.
Yeah.
Like just
the Washington game too. Same exact thing. That was brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like one of those moments where we're all like trying to think about how we're going to talk about what just happened. And we can't even come up with an answer ourselves.
Yeah. We both try to come up with questions. I didn't have a question at that moment. Like me, you both try to come up with. We're like, hey, bro, I don't know. Johnny K, Natalie, y'all got it. I don't know for this one. Like, y'all got to get the tough ones on. I ain't got nothing for this.
Right. Yeah. What do you even say?
Yeah.
What's a disadvantage asking first?
Yeah. Natalie having her face like, oh, I don't like you got this. You sure you good? Like, I'll be okay. Like, he'll be nice to you. You got it. Go ahead.
I don't know. I'd rather ask first than ask fourth or fifth a lot of times. Yeah, we do because we gotta fight for the scraps. Like,
He'd be getting frustrated by the fitness questions like, hey, is that it? Can I get out of here now? Can I go?
I mean, there's a couple this year where like no one would like ask a question. He's like halfway out the door. Hey, JB, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, you guys done yet?
Yeah. Thank you, JB. Appreciate your patience, man. He's 101 for sure.
I think we could wrap this topic up. I think we all have similar stances on LaVine. I understand Sean's concern as well, just from a career aspect wise with LaVine. But I'm to the point, man, like, just get Cade another bucket getter, man.
Yeah.
Like,
look, as much as I joke around, in this scenario, if you were truly able to get him off a buyout market as a veteran minimum, that would be a steal. Like, of course, like that would be an intriguing idea. It's just kind of going back to the earlier point. Like you already said, they already bought out, DeMar DeRozan. I just think that's a lot of money to pay two guys to not play on your team when there's not really a whole lot of incentive to tank anymore.
Yeah, I think what they want to do, and I know we're more focused on the Pistons on this podcast, but when you look at Darius Acuff, you don't want him to share touches with Zach LaVine. You want Darius to get as much reps as he can. That's your new franchise guard. It'll be interesting to see where he's traded to in a couple of years. But, I mean,
the 2 months those guys play together is going to be some of the most unwatchable basketball we will ever see.
Yeah, I mean, that was just kind of a budding joke since they already traded De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton. Like
right.
I don't know where Darius is going to be in a couple of years if he's still in Sacramento. But I'm
what team will he bring to the finals that's not the Kings?
Yeah, I mean, Kings are going to king. I know they were on Pistons Twitter ass when they had like one good season and they thought they could sit at the cool kid party, but
like the beam.
Yeah, they're back at the kiddie cool.
Gets the third seed one time. It's like, all right, guys, let's chill.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I know when we were talking beforehand, I told you guys it was going to be a rotational question. So I want to know who is going to be this year's Karis LeVert, and let me kind of phrase the question. Who is going to be a player that JB Bickerstaff continues to play and gives them opportunity in minutes? I have one that I'm saving, but I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say.
I think it's going to be Javonte Green.
Oh, you bastard.
Damn it. Did I steal your guy?
Yeah.
I just he's the guy that, he played all 82 games last year. He's one of the only guys that did. He's, you know, you know for a fact effort that you're getting from him every single game. And it's like, not only did JB lose Isaiah Stewart this offseason, he lost Tobias Harris. He lost his security blanket. And so if you don't go to the, you know, like if Tobias Harris was the security blanket, then Javonte Green's like the trusted tarp. It's like the tool that you overlook, but you know for a fact it's going to get whatever job you need to get done when you go to it. You know, it's like he's someone where you don't know what you're getting from him offensively each night, but you know he's going to play his ass off. You know he's going to cause 1 or 2 turnovers. You know he might get into foul trouble, but you know it's because he's clearly giving a shit.
Yeah.
That's a damn good question. If he stays, I got 2 guys. I think Kevin Huerter could be in this position. I think he could become that guy because while I do think he's had some highs while he was playing, he was a little unhealthy last year, especially during the playoffs. His jump shot never really came around, and I feel like that's where he's going to add the most value for this basketball team. I could see them leaning up because they brought him up to do a lot. Like he was, you know, a facilitator for the team. You know, he was trying to create his own looks as well. They were comfortable with leaving him on islands defensively. I could see JB being comfortable with putting a lot on his plate to see where he can go. I mean, and then the next option I'll say, if he's on this team still, we'll see, I can see Gary Harris kind of being that guy as well. I can see, you know, JB being fond of the local guy who's scrappy and, you know, still trying to, you know, push that last bit of juice out of his career, and thinking that Gary Harris can still somehow be that guy, which I don't see, unfortunately. But I think those 2 names are like the biggest ones that I think he might overpush in those kind of positions.
Can I give a dark horse?
Please.
Yeah, go for it.
Taurean Prince. He's a guy that, you know, like is a quality 3-point shooter, you know, brought over from Milwaukee. He just didn't play a lot last season. He just wasn't really healthy. And like, I remember Doc and you know, kind of like he was talking about not having all their players. And he's like, Taurean Prince was like a pretty key piece in like who he was talking about. And look, I know Doc Rivers is Doc Rivers. He's going to make excuses, you know, till he's blue in the face. But like at the same time, like this is a guy that, you know, has been pretty consistent and reliable for a lot of his career. And I'm not saying he's, you know, he's like a star player or anything, but he's at the very least been like a pretty stable, consistent role player, a guy who, you know, is reliable on the defensive side of the ball too. Like if he's healthy, I could see him being like a low key, kind of like an unsung hero of the Pistons rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing Eric talk about Gary Harris, I was like, oh my God, that is Karis LeVert 2.0. I was like, no shot at him. Like, obviously, he's had his injuries. He hasn't really been effective, in my opinion, probably since his early days in Orlando, and that was like in 2020, like right before COVID. Like he has just had so many injuries throughout his career. But Eric's like, yeah, like a veteran can shoot threes when he's out there, and I was like, oh, damn it, that is just like I thought it was. I was like, Sean was like, maybe it'll be Javonte Green because he was really durable, but I was like, the more I heard Eric talk about it, I was like, average 3 points a game, injured, gonna get 15 minutes a game. I was like, damn it.
I'm telling you, if we hear JB one time say, you know, because we're all going to ask, of course, about the players. And if the one time he says, yeah, Gary's, you know, great veteran presence, he can shoot, and he's a very underrated ball handler, the second you hear that, we're done. We're in trouble. You are just exactly what he said about Karis. Oh, Karis can distribute it, he can play mate, he can bring the ball up. And that was not Karis' strength in any way, shape, or form. It never got there. It just didn't.
So adaptable.
Yeah, bruh, that's the word. Those trigger words right there. That's what you're looking for.
Well, this is not me hating on Gary Harris. You know, local kid, went to Michigan State. He's had a really long NBA career. He has just had a lot of injuries, you know, ticky-tack injuries. I don't even know if he makes the roster personally.
Yeah.
Like, who
are you
gets the
saying
last...
we're going to be calling him Gary Karis?
Let that breathe. Don't talk. Just let that breathe for a second.
You're letting me sit in that one?
Damn you, Sean.
You let me sit in that one? I gotta go
Oh,
stand in
you
the
are
corner.
terrible.
That's getting clipped.
I gotta go stand in the corner over there. Do I gotta think about what I did?
You're terrible. You are terrible. That's the Karis of this pod right there. That joke.
That wasn't a no.
That was an adaptable joke. Just throw out.
That. Like,
Man.
I already know people that work for the Pistons watch this podcast. They will probably just saw that and they probably chuckled. Like
It was a joke. I promise. It was a joke. It was a joke.
A sick one, but yes, a joke
know
nonetheless.
It was a pun.
It's an off-season topic. I was just looking at the rotations. I was like, this is probably going to be another 12 deep rotation. It's probably going to be there's going to be one guy that just gets way too many minutes, and we just sit up here and say, why does he get so many damn minutes when there are other players on the bench that can just provide it? But I mean, if Gary's on the roster, cool. I'm not opposed to it. 40% 3-point shooter, local kid, rooting for him. But if he gets waived, hey, who knows?
Another guy to look out too in that role. I'm not saying I want this to happen or even that I think this will happen, but now that Isaiah Joe's on the roster, I think people could be looking at Duncan Robinson and saying, why is he playing as much as he is? Or why should he be starting over him? Because I think people will be like, oh, well, Isaiah Joe's better. Why should he not be on the floor more than Duncan Robinson? Like I could see that narrative start very quickly.
When you said dark horse, that's what I thought you were going to say originally, was Duncan Robinson. I thought he could morph into that. I was thinking the exact same thing earlier.
Yeah, when you framed it in the way of like, all right, who's going to like be the guy that like JB just goes to? It's like, well, that's Javante. But it's like, all right, well, who's the guy that could like potentially become the ire of the fan base? Like if they don't start playing well, we've already seen a track record of like Duncan had a great season this last year. He's had a great past few years. Like he's been pretty consistent as a 3-point shooter, but we've seen in the past when the 3-point shot isn't there, that other elements of his game struggle. And so I'm not saying I think that will happen, but I'm saying that it's something to keep an eye on, because if there is a guy that could fit that mold, if things don't go right, I think he fits that mold.
Cleveland did a really good job of taking away his strengths and putting his weaknesses on high display. They did a really good job of that in the playoffs.
Yep.
I would say it would not surprise me if Isaiah Joe beats him out for the starting 2-guard spot. It just would not surprise me. I think Isaiah Joe is a little bit better of a defender. Even though he's a little bit smaller than Duncan height-wise, I think the way he moves his feet and just like the way he rotates, I think he's a better defender. And I think he's just as good as a 3-point shooter. I mean, the numbers would back it up. I mean, shooting 40% from 3 the past, 4 or 5 seasons. He's on pretty good volume too, like 6 attempts a game. Like I heard someone on a podcast say that he's probably going to break Malik Beasley's 3-point record because he's going to get the attempts. He's going to get the attempts. And I mean, hey man, who knows? Who knows?
Let's just say I won't be betting on it.
I knew you were going to go there.
You can't get 2 of those in 5 minutes. No. You're in timeout. Go sit your ass in the corner, bro. Go sit down. You're done. Anybody else want to pop up? Come take this. Look at him in the corner. You deserve this. You earned this, damn it. Oh, Sean, I love you, man.
Oh my god.
Oh, I'm dying.
Ordering the Dunce app on Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this was it was supposed to be a fun, light-hearted topic. Sean got 2 puns out of it in about 5 minutes. Like, crazy.
I'm leaving here with something.
I know. I know there's going to be a player this year that Pistons fans, like, don't go on Pistons Twitter right now because it's just toxic. But during the season, there's always one player that gets a brunt of the hate, and I think Kara's got a lot of it at times. I'm trying to think. At times. I did have his brother actually reach out to me, like one time after I tweeted something, and he put a bunch of question marks because he was kind of confused. But I mean, I didn't even know he had his brother. Didn't even know his brother represented him as his agent. I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. But man, it's fun. We have one more topic with you guys, and I wanted to kind of talk about extensions. Now, obviously, I have told my subscribers I'm done talking about Jalen Duren because it's just a tighter topic, because we've been doing daily podcasts probably since the NBA draft on this channel. We've been just going crazy. And I just can't with the Duren stuff anymore. But the extension talk I wanted to talk with you guys is, we're seeing a lot of teams this year avoid the second apron outside of Denver. But do you think the reason why we're hearing reports of the Pistons not willing to go to Duren's price point, which is reportedly like around the max, is because they don't want to be in kind of where Denver's at from a cap space perspective of being a second apron team and having that repeater tax?
Yes. I like flat out. Like, I do think that is a huge part of their calculus. Like, I even had the quote up right here because I was actually thinking about this earlier. Like, James Dolan, after winning the championship, like the question was, are they going to bring back Mitchell Robinson? Are they going to bring back the team, let them run it back because they won the championship? Like, that's kind of the thought as well. If you're going to be in the second apron, do it with a team that won the title. But James Dolan compared being in the second apron to, like, he said that that there are certain things in the NBA that you'd have to be suicidal to do. One of them is the second apron. And so when an owner is like so publicly coming out and saying, you'd have to be crazy to do that. And you want like another piece of evidence? You look at Oklahoma City. They just traded Atlanta Hawks what feels like a third of their roster, this summer. And in part of why they had to do that was because of the insane tax bill that would have been on their end if they kept guys like Aaron Wiggins, if they kept guys, like Isaiah Joe that came to the Pistons, if they kept guys like Lou Dort. So the unfortunate reality when people are like, oh, I'm sick of Trajan, or I'm sick of like my teams not pushing in their chips and things like that. I understand that. Like, when you're talking about the Lions, I have those frustrations myself. I understand when you're talking about other sports, but the reality is the NBA just got this crazy hard cap that came in a few years ago, and teams are still learning how to reckon with it and how to win with it. Mm-hmm. And we are in the beginning stage. And I'm not saying this as an excuse for Trajan. I'm saying this is a reality that everyone in the league is trying to navigate through right now. And this is like by far between the players, the agents, the owners. Well, not the owners, because it means they have to pay. They don't have to pay as much, like that's why they want it there. But also, there's the reality of, like, for the front office execs, like for everyone else, this is not a good thing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think when you look at the direction of what this team is doing, obviously trying to get a deal done with Duren. Asar, obviously they want to try to get an extension done with him as well. Yeah, it's just a difficult reality of terms of what teams have to deal with now when it comes to the second apron. And luckily, to Trajan's benefit and the Pistons in general, from what we've seen since Cade was drafted here, is they've been able to kind of get away with not having to go and get that next big price tag, because Cade has done a great job with playing with whatever you give him. I don't think there's any other player or any other star in the league that has been able to maximize G League players around him as priority pieces while he's on the floor. Or, like, I'm sorry, a lot of people have given so much credit to guys like Jalen Brunson. Like, I just don't think he would look the exact same if Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, and Tim Hardaway Jr. were his, like, 3 out of top 4 or 5 players that he had to play with. I just don't think it would look the exact same. Even with guys like Asar and JD as his, primary guys to work with. Fantastic talents, but they're still young and developing and still pretty raw in a lot of areas of their game. So knowing that you were able to kind of get away with where Cade is as an MVP level player, a guy that can raise your floor, he can raise your ceiling as well. The Pistons have been able to kind of be a little bit more patient with not having to push that button for certain players that will be a little bit more expensive than others, because you've been able to kind of work and win with, I don't want to call them cheap and be disrespectful, but just a lot as pricey tags to work with in players, because it's been yielding winning dividends for this team under the coaching of JB Bickerstaff, under the veteran assistance of guys like Tobias Harris. Now it gets a little bit different because now Tobias is gone, but again, his price tag wasn't super crazy with just the 2-year deal that he was on. But yeah, I definitely think that's something that they keep in mind for sure. Again, when you got to keep Duren happy with the deal that he's looking for. Obviously, they have different thoughts of what they want to give him, and you want to find a way to bring Asar back as well and keep that core 3 together. I understand, but it's not going to be cheap and it's not going to be easy, and they're trying to find the ways around it right now as we see.
Because how can you even think about getting a Kevin Durant when you don't even know what numbers you're going to be able to lock up those guys in?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like when you look at the Levert trade, like that was actually a move to get them a little bit, give them a little wiggle room with the salary cap, and they can obviously re-sign Durant with bird rights. And if they were willing to give him in the ballpark of 40 million, then you can kind of get a little bit into the luxury tax and not be too close to the first apron. But I do think when you kind of look at the salary cap and how it's projected, the Pistons they'll be able to spend a little bit more money to surround the rest of the talent once they get Cade, Asar, and Durant locked up. Now it's just a supporting cast to support your young talent and your young stars that you're trying to build around. I think right now they're being very strategic and smart with it, because I think we can all agree you were going to give Cade Cunningham that max regardless. Like there was no, you weren't going to question it. Now with Durant, obviously you have set a price of what you want to spend. We don't really know what that price tag is, but it's just right now just a blinking game to see who's going to blink first and sign that contract. And it sounds like Asar is basically ready to sign whenever they get the Durant contract out situated.
But there was hesitancy with Durant before he had one of the biggest postseason, like regular season to postseason drop-offs in the history of basketball. Like there were already hesitations of him being a max player before he went out and had two of the worst consecutive back-to-back series we've seen from a young player who's extension eligible in the history of the league. Like, I hate to call it what it is, but that's just what it is. Not that I don't believe in where he's going to be, and don't get me wrong, I'm definitely kind of tired about talking of the saga too. I'm sure we all are, but this is the unfortunate reality of free agency. And if he wants to roll the dice on the qualifying offer, he can, but I think we would all agree that would probably be a tremendous mistake. So if he actually does that, I would look around and ask him to find me the example of where that's worked out.
Especially for a guy at 22 years old. Again, I understand it was striking your iron while it's hot, but bro, you're 22 years old. You have time to go get that next bag. Like you're not starving for that next opportunity. When you came into the league, I think he was like the youngest or second youngest player to come into the NBA since when LeBron was drafted. Like you have time to make up for that, and you're still raw in a lot of your development. While a lot of the good things that we saw, came out of your game and how you flourished and how you developed. It was great to see. I think one of my favorite parts of the season was Sean asking, I think it was the Raptors coach, where you were asking Durant about his face-up game, and then he kind of shot it back and didn't want to give him too much credit, and then he had 30 points the same night.
That was a good scouting report, Darko. But I just Googled notable players who signed the qualifying offer. If you're looking for your most optimistic sign, you guys know who I'm going to say?
Not Nerlens Noel, right?
No. Greg Monroe.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Big moves.
He signed the qualifying offer with the Pistons. He turned down a multi-year extension, and then he signed a big deal with the Milwaukee Bucks. If you're looking at who's the most successful, it's probably him or Nerlens Noel. But it's if the most successful guys you're looking to in this market are Greg Monroe, Miles Bridges, Nerlens Noel, Rodney Hood, Alex Len. It's that's not, you don't want to be on the list with those guys in any context.
He's already more accomplished than all of them, being all NBA and an all-star level player too. So granted, he's not going to get to that, but you don't want to even play around in that kind of environment. It just sounds like he's getting some weird advice right now in this process. Again, we've talked about it until we were blue in the face. We've seen everybody kind of go over the same things. This has gone on way longer than I thought it was going to, but hopefully reality come up sooner than later. We'll see.
If I'm being honest, boys, I don't think we see a resolution until September.
That's what Sean said. He said training camp is kind of the ideal. If I just had to take a stab at it, I think if I'm Durant, I'm taking a 3-year deal, because that puts me at 25 years old. Maybe the Pistons give him that $40 million that he wants, and you can kind of just test the market out again. But I mean, I don't think
deal with a player option on the third or something like that.
Yeah, if you can't come to a 5-year agreement of if you said give me $200 million, you could say like here's like 3 for what, like 120? Like, does he take it?
I mean, I hope, but
It's hard to be in his head right now.
yeah, that's the thing. I can't even like confidently say one way or another at this point. This has been...
When I see reports coming out of a player's camp that they want to be on checks notes, the Sacramento Kings, I have questions.
Yeah, I mean, the Instagram post that he had to turn the comments off. I was like, well, wow,
Yeah.
like that's kind of crazy. Which
Yeah.
I don't blame him because I know how Pistons fans are. I mean, we see it scrolling on the timeline this offseason of just like how just in left field they are right now, just going at each other's throats over like pictures or workout videos or whatever it may be. Like the offseason, this is, to me as a spectator, most entertaining offseason on Twitter.
yeah, it's up there for sure. I can go with
Certainly
that.
the craziest, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have time for a couple Q&A questions from the fans?
Of course, let's do it.
Okay, we have a couple. I keep seeing someone ask the same question about like 50 times. It's Ryan, because let's know about the backup power forward spot. I don't even know who plays backup for. Maybe Ron Holland, maybe Torian Prince. How are you guys kind of feeling with that depth?
That is it is a good question. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to dismiss it. It is just unfortunately the most it is August 1st question that we can think of. Like, who's the backup power forward? But like, in all seriousness, like, I think that is a little bit of a question mark still. You know, like I think you can probably have Ron playing at the 4 at points. You know, there's certainly, you know, some ways that they can finagle it. I think Torian Prince is probably a backup 4 as well. You know, they can certainly come in and play at that slot too. I think it's obviously just going to depend on who's healthy and like if they want to go small, if they want to go big. I think that will kind of like determine like it might be like it might not be like a set secondary guy. It might be a rotation that they kind of like deploy throughout the game.
Yeah, I think it kind of bases on the matchup and where they're at. They have enough versatility right now where I've even seen the Clippers and other teams use John Collins as a small ball 5. So you'll be able to kind of mix and match a lot of different options. Maybe we'll see Paul Reed, slated to that option or that area as a backup 4. They have a lot of different areas. I personally don't like always seeing Ron Holland as a backup 4. I don't think that's his game at all. I think he's closer to a 2 than he is a 4, like with how he plays. But I keep seeing it on depth chart after depth chart. Summerlee did the exact same thing. I don't like seeing that, but who knows? Maybe, these highlight videos are going to show something different in his game this year. So I don't know. The Pistons have options. I think JB has shown that he's not scared at trying different things. Even with Cade Cunningham, like he's a guy that's, 6'7", 230, and he plays any area on the floor. He's adaptable. God, I hate that word now. He's able to be versatile enough to adjust to what the team needs, and I think they'll find a way to make it work based on the matchups that they're facing.
Maybe it's a SAR. I don't know. You've seen those workout pictures. Good Lord, man. Looks like Terminator out there.
I don't know what he been eating. That boy just...
He's a monster, dude.
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm here for it. Like baby Obafemi, I like it.
That's just crazy to me. Like when I saw that picture, because I was like, oh, they're down in Florida boxing, and I was just like, man, what the hell have they been feeding Gasar? Because he looked like he just doubled in size in like a month. Like, like it's honestly crazy. Like he seems like the type of individual to work out like 3 times a day just because he's bored. It's like, oh, let's go.
Reminded me of the Pig and Family Guy, the one like the really big, that's like super roided up and it goes, oink. It's like, oh my gosh. like that was my reaction when I first saw him. I was like, oh, okay.
All jokes aside, though, I think I do agree with you guys. I think it could be Torian Prince. I have a name that they could go out and get who is a free agent that might not cost a lot. Trenton Watford, who played with Philly last year.
Okay.
6'8", can shoot the ball, can pass the ball. think he just had a run with Ball is Life the other day, and he was just shooting three after three after three. I don't really know what he wants to do. He's still a free agent, but I could totally see JB just kind of throw in Ron Holland in at the backup four just because he's 6'8", can handle the ball. But that is still a weakness. We're 3 years in, and we still don't have a backup four. I was hopeful it was going to be Bobby Klippman, but that did not come to pass.
No.
That first year summer league was the biggest blip. I swear, we all thought the same thing, but it didn't happen.
I don't know about that.
Oh, sorry, Stradamus over here. Excuse me.
Well, I was saying he was good, but I was trying to slow the roll just a little bit.
Summer league, man, you gotta get the juice of summer league. You can't help yourself.
Listen, I know, I get it. I thought Henry Ellenson was Dirk too. All right,
there we go. See,
it's funny. Wendell Moore and Bobby Klippman are going to be playing on the same European league together. I just saw that the other day.
Oh boy,
I was like, yeah,
that's
man.
tough.
I think
Coming too fast.
I think Pallel Larson is playing with him from the Miami Heat over in Sweden right now. I was like, man, I don't know if you remember, Eric, the interview we had with this trainer.
Of course,
I
remember.
I can't think of his name off the top, man. I think it was Coach Jeremy or something like that. This guy was just. I love that he was about his client, and love that he was about just like a kid that he grew up training. But I mean, it was. To put it lightly, yeah. I wish him well. I maybe he just needs a little bit more time at developing in Europe. Maybe he has a resurgence like a Mario Hezonja. Who knows? I really don't know. But I mean, that podcast was goated though.
We tried giving him a lob, just an easy look. Oh, who do you think his game will? We said Boris Diaw, just a little role player, just an easy little notch of who you think he is.
Boris Diaw,
this man said,
and he was like, Jesus,
Kevin Durant. I'm like, oh my god. Okay, all right. I respect dog. He hits me up sometimes on IG. Like, he's a good dude, but. Man, that is not. Yep, Devin season 2. You remember from the show? Yeah, next KD was crazy. That was nuts.
That's one thing that kind of impressed me about Ibaka. By the way, do you remember the player he compared himself to at his draft press conference?
Colin Sexton.
Yeah. Colin Sexton. Mm-hmm. Like, he wasn't coming out calling himself Tyrese Maxey like other people are doing.
Yeah.
He's not calling himself Jalen Brunson. He's like, hey, Colin Sexton's a guy that my game kind of like fits the mold of, and. You know what? He's had a career. He's made some money. Wouldn't be a bad, especially for the 17th pick, not a bad mold to follow.
Exactly. Or the classic, hey, I don't like comparing myself to anybody. We'll just see what I do. That works too. Kevin Durant out the gate. All right. Okay, brother. Good luck.
I mean, I remember the Killian James Harden conversations, man. I
mean, yeah, here's
that step back.
Yeah, here's the comparison. They're both left-handed. End of list. Thanks for coming to the comparison.
Good times.
Guy Ari says, do you guys think that Kevin Huerter will have a better shooting season this year?
Well, let me put it this way. He can't have much of a worse shooting season this year. Yeah. I mean, he shot about 27% from three last year, and this is a guy who in his heydays with the Kings and the Hawks was like high 30s, low 40s. Like, this is a guy who went from being an elite 3-point shooter to where like that's just like not been a good part of his game. And even like I remember JB talked about like even towards the end of the season, like there were points where they were just kind of like, hey, just forget about the 3-point shot. Like just like focus on playing within the rhythm of the game. And he's like, you do so many other things. Like they raved about how smart of a basketball player he was, which is absolutely true. But, the last time he's been at 40% was 2022-23 with the Kings. And I'm not saying he has to get there with the Pistons, but shoot, can you get to league average? Can you get to 36, 38%?
I mean, he did have like a little stretch where he was shooting. It's funny because your boy Leggy found a tweet I posted like in March, and I don't even remember posting it, but where Kevin Huerter was shooting 41% from three over like his like last two starts, where like kind of Duncan had a a back injury, I believe it was. And I was just like, well, maybe he just needs more touches and more reps. But the shot doesn't look bad. I can get 35% out of Kevin Huerter. I'm fine. I see someone upset with the contract. The contract to me was a little bit confusing at the time, but when the details came out, it's not fully guaranteed for the duration of the contract. There is a loophole there for 9 guaranteed years, but you're not paying someone $9 million just not to play. So I would assume he's going to be pretty early off the bench in the rotations.
7th or 8th man.
Yeah, the opportunity is for sure going to be there. The good news is, again, if how the roster works out well with the other shooters being around him, unfortunately, to last season, it wasn't a whole lot of shooting. So him not being, as reliable hurt in some aspects, especially in the playoffs where he really wasn't playing at all. They found ways to kind of supplement for it as the end of the season was kind of approaching. But the opportunity will be there for sure for him. Again, like I kind of agree with Sean. I don't think he can be worse. I think the spacing will be there. I think, he'll find a way to get his looks. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because it's been something that's kind of been declining a lot in his career. So hopefully, if he can stay healthy, it'll get there. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, like if it's 35. That's just a win in itself since he's kind of just been like dipping and dropping. Very popular name on this podcast, Sam Vecini fan page. Which shout out to Sam Vecini, really good reporter, podcaster over the Athletic. Why aren't the Pistons targeting Peyton Watson?
Because he's also a restricted free agent, because he's also demanding a lot of money, and you're essentially going to run into the Jalen Duren of wings right now, where he's demanding more of a market, and they just with the cap hold of Duren, and also with those other, they just don't have the cap space to even make an offer, and even if they do, the odds are Denver's probably matching it. So it's the reason why not a lot of people are going after Duren. It's because he's a restricted free agent. And in this current cap system, restricted free agents have almost no lure to other teams.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like when you talk about Peyton Watson, he's a good 2-3 option. He's what you hope Ron Holland can turn into right now. That's what you want. You want to see the development, because you shot 41% from 3 with Denver. You're hoping that's what Ron Holland can develop into. I understand the appeal of Pistons fans with Peyton Watson. I think he does check a lot of boxes. He's really good defensively. I think with him, it just really depends, because Denver's give us a first in a high level player. They lower their asking price, and I think that's why a lot of Pistons fans are can we get Peyton Watson? Can we go try to do a sign and trade deal with Denver to try to get Peyton Watson out of Denver? They're a second apron team. I understand the appeal. I just don't really know what a high level player is in Denver's eyes. To me, I think that would be a SAR, and I think that's no. Do they view Ron Holland as a high level player? I'm not sure. Those are the questions I have.
Yeah, I don't think they're looking to I think Peyton Watson is a little closer to the development that they're looking for, more than a guy like Ron Holland would be, who's still taking a little bit more time. Ron is great defensively. I think he's one of the most underrated defenders in the league, but he's still leaving a little bit to be desired offensively. And for teams like Denver, even the Pistons as well, they're at positions where they need some of that offensive assistance for their focal point guys like Jokic and Cade. So, no, I think Sean hit it was a nail on the head. For restricted free agent guys like that, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. And yeah, hopefully in time you'll see Asar or Ron get a little bit closer to what that ceiling looks like for what their development has become. But yeah, I just don't see that happening right now for the Pistons.
If I did have to guess, I think Milwaukee makes the most sense for him. I could totally see Milwaukee throwing Denver some stuff. I've heard Brooklyn as well as another team that could go after Peyton Watson, obviously. Would cost you Duncan Robinson. See, I don't know that for a fact. We may view Duncan Robinson in a different lens than Denver does, because you have to remember they have Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic can make any player look good. I mean, Look what Tim Hardaway Jr. just did this past season. He had a phenomenal season because he was able to play with a ball handler like Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon. So those threes were probably wide open. But I think it's going to take more than a high-level role player like Duncan Robinson to get a guy in Peyton Watson that in my opinion, I think he is just going to ascend and just kind of have a breakout year wherever he does land, if it's not in Denver. But I have one more question for you guys, and then we can kind of just wrap up this podcast. Or if you guys want to talk about anything else, I am game. I don't have shit to do. This does come from Mark. What do you guys think about the Pistons making a move to get Scoot Henderson, since he'll be the odd man out in Portland after they acquire John Morant?
I mean, I think Scoot Henderson is more of an intriguing idea than he's been a quality player in execution.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
I think that, like as high as I was on Scoot coming into the league, he just hasn't lived up nearly to those expectations. It's not that I don't think that he can. Like I think that if he goes to a second spot and goes to another young team where he can kind of develop and have the ball in his hands and have some leeway, like I think he can potentially figure it out. I just don't think Detroit's the situation. I think that I think the Pistons are in a situation where they need guys who are ready to win and ready to win now. And Scoot is still finding who he is on this level. Like he's a guy, like, don't get me wrong, he has a lot of skill sets that you would like. I understand the thought that you could potentially get him at a pretty cheap deal. Or like if you were to sign him, like in the off season for whatever that would look like. But I just don't foresee a scenario where he could come into Detroit, consistently have a carved out role, and be like the second or third option on a winning team. Not right now. Like he's a guy who probably needs another year or two at the very least in a developing situation to continue to really carve out his role and find what he's going to be as an NBA player, because it just hasn't been consistent enough yet.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. The idea and the allure of what he could be is more enticing than what he's shown and proven to be at this point. The Pistons were a game away from getting to the ECF, and at this point, you're not trying to wait around for a lot of other guys to, get it together and figure it out. You have enough guys like that already on your roster who flash some of that greatness that you think they can get to within the next couple of years. But right now they're already on your roster, and you don't want to blow up too much to try to figure out and wait for a guy like Scoot Henderson. Again, he would make sense for, like you said, a younger team, a team that can afford to be a little bit more patient with his development. You don't have that right now. You're trying to maximize a championship window right now, and I don't think he fits with that at this current moment. I do think he can figure it out in time. I just don't think the Pistons are the most opportune place for him to do that.
Until we see otherwise, Scoot Henderson's kind of like Colin Sexton with better branding.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, he's a nice point guard. I mean, if I had my pick at point guard, it's not Scoot Henderson. I'd rather have Drew Holiday. Even with the big contract, I'd rather have the championship experience and a great on-ball defender.
And a guy who knows who the heck he is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Scoot did have a little bit of like a resurgence in the second half of the season after he did get healthy. And in the playoffs, he did have some pretty good games, I did think. But Portland's a weird team. And then I don't even know if they're going to be in Portland. Like, their owner, like, I don't understand why you buy a team if you're going to try to relocate, and then it might actually derail Vegas and Seattle's relocation, like with expansion. So, I mean, Portland, I have no idea what's going on over there.
It's a dire situation. It's really the only way to describe it.
It is.
Yeah. Keep an eye on Michael Porter Jr. if we don't reach an extension. I saw that report today, which...
Wrap it.
No,
wrap it.
No.
Wrap it.
No,
wrap it.
No.
I'm not doing this.
I'm so
wrap
straight.
It.
Please. Enough of the Michael Porter Jr. conversation. No.
Wrap the
no.
God right now.
I'm so tired of hearing his name. No. Stop.
Start the outro, please.
No.
See, there's two types of Pistons fans. There's Devon, Sean, and Eric, and then there's people in the comment section saying that BJ would be a perfect fit. No. This is why I love doing podcasts and talking to. I used to like you.
No, man. Enough. Any man is crazy enough to date Ice Spice, you don't need him on your basketball team. No. Stop.
I forgot about that, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. But we can wrap up this podcast. But I do want to give you guys both the floor to plug and promote where people can find you. We do have your social media links down below in the description. We have both of your Twitters and YouTube channels. But where can people find you? I don't know if you guys are putting out too much content since it is off season, but tell the people where they can find you at.
You can find me on Twitter as Sean Halfcourt, and also the podcast from Half Court, wherever you get your podcast. It'll definitely be starting to ramp up here now that we're getting closer to this season, and appreciate chatting with you boys as always.
Yes, sir. Lock in with me on social media at I am Eric Vincent. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Top Title Detroit. Creeping up on 1,000 subscribers, so if y'all want to help the mission out, I would really appreciate that love and support. You can follow all my beat reporting as well on ClutchPoints.com. And yeah, I think that's about it, man. Appreciate y'all time, man. Always a pleasure being here with y'all.
All right, we're going to wrap up this podcast. You guys, hope you did enjoy it. Hope you did enjoy Sean's puns, which that's why we bring Sean on, man. Sean's a riot. The Gary one, it's definitely getting clipped after we hang up.
That's nasty, bro. That was nasty by you.
Yeah, I've accepted it. Yeah, I've accepted it.
But appreciate you guys tapping on in as always all summer long. We'll see you guys next week. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.